and try and replicate some of the sound design. I'm more into sort of trying to get a groove in a track now as opposed to the technical aspect of it. Yeah, and I guess I'm probably coming out of a stage where I was listening to a lot of straight up techno, and now I'm moving more towards a kind of psychedelic sound that's sort of becoming more and more popular in Australia at the moment.
Yeah, and that being what I call, and I guess people are sort of trying to label it, the sci-tech, bush tech, and dark tech. It's kind of the genre. Is that fair to say that you're starting to fit into that genre quite nicely now?
Yeah, and this is the thing about it. It's really sort of difficult to pin it down to a genre. It's kind of when you sort of asked to provide a genre to the labels, you sort of think, what is this sort of mongrel mixture of music? It's sort of like progressive techno, dark, minimal, bush, psychedelic elements of all different types of electronic music. There's not really many rules to it, and maybe that's something that appeals to me.
So yeah, you've been doing a lot of collaboration. I've seen there's a lot of projects going on at the moment for you, but is that sort of impacting your sound as well? You know, how does it work for you when it comes to your collaborations?
Some advice given to me by a bloke called Harrison Case Koshin, who's a big progressive techno producer. He's also based in Hobart. Gave to me not that long ago was, if you get the chance to collaborate with people, then do it. It really refines your productions. And so I've sort of been selectively picking out people that I can work with, and the workflow aspect of that has really improved, I think, my productions as well, just in terms of staying disciplined and getting through tracks. And I guess compromise as well, learning how to compromise on sounds, and whatever comes out, just be happy with it.
So do you find collaborating difficult? Is it a new thing for you? You mentioned you've just started, or do you find that it sort of comes naturally?
Well, this is the thing about collaboration. It really depends on who you're collaborating with and the relationship you have with them, which is one of the fun aspects of it. Some people just don't meet together creatively, and then other people just click and get on with it. I've probably got half a dozen to a dozen tracks on my hard drive that just never went anywhere. And sometimes you just got to accept that. Whereas other people you just click with and you just churn through some tracks. And a lot of it comes down to, I think, having similar values towards music, and I guess similar goals as well.
For me, I find that people bring a different either skill set or aspect to a collaboration that you might not have had, but being able to, for me, create something that you wouldn't have created yourself on your own is kind of, for me, a special thing.
Absolutely agree. So for me now, probably wasn't so much at the beginning, but now when I am collaborating with someone and they send me a pack of stems, it's like opening a Christmas present. You sort of crack it open and you can see how they go about things and really unpick it. And that definitely, line for instance, everybody does it differently slightly, and you can get in and have a proper look at that, and it leads to asking questions. And when you ask questions, you learn.
Actually, that brings me on to your approach to making music. You mentioned a few things there.
It normally comes to me, the creative energy, after a few days or a week of not doing any music, maybe a phase of more listening to music or something. And then I'll just open up my digital audio workstation and sort of get to work. And I'll normally start with a kick and a bass line, and then just start layering sounds over the top of that. And it just grows organically.
That first piece, well, at least for me, that's the creative side, and then there's the technical piece. What do you prefer? Where do you sort of sit, and how do you balance up the creative versus the technical?
Yeah, that's a good point as well. So in terms of that, I think they're both as important as each other. You can be as creative as anyone, but it's useless if you don't have the technical skills to sort of prop that up. As I've gone through it, I've learned more that sound design and mixing and mastering is really important, and that's not really, I mean, it is creative in a way, but it's also quite mathematical in how you approach it and technical.
Do you see yourself doing the creative and technical at the same time, or do you have a process for them?
Definitely at the same time. So I know a lot of people sort of do all of their creative work and then mix it down at the end. I tend to mix as I go and try and keep it clear and try and hold the groove throughout the whole creative process. Normally when I get to the end of a track, it's nearly ready to go mix-wise. I might tweak a couple of things, but generally most of the grunt work in that department's done. That being said, I am a big advocate for getting someone else to mix down your track as well, no matter how well it's mixed down. They might open it up and say, look, I didn't have to do much on that, it sounded pretty good. Or they might open it up and say, oh, you've missed this or that, these two sounds are clashing. And that's another good tip for anyone that's learning production, is trusting your instincts. If you listen to something and it pings in your heart and your soul and you know that it's sounding good, after a couple of days, after you've listened to it 1,000 times, it might not sound so good. So you've just got to trust that first instinct and deliver it.
I did get some feedback earlier in the year from Umek his feedback was that because of that ability to get so stuck into a track and lose your objectivity, you should pick two people that you absolutely trust, that you hope they go, no, this is shit, and then they can tell you why it's shit. But he's saying that the combination of losing objectivity with too many yes people tends to give you the wrong side of the message, really.
Absolutely, that's really good advice. And again, going back to the collaboration thing, that in a way it is collaboration in itself. You need somebody that is willing and able to have those tough, blunt conversations with you, and that you can trust. It might hurt your ego a little bit, but in terms of improving yourself as an artist, it's priceless.
Exactly. So what sort of software and hardware do you use? Do you use much hardware, or are you a DAW person?
My hardware is pretty limited. So I've got speakers, monitors, I've got an interface, and I've got a little MIDI keyboard, which I sometimes crack out if I'm feeling ultra creative. Everything else is inside the box, inside the laptop. So I've got all sorts of sort of software plugins. I use Logic as my DAW, my DAW, digital audio workstation, which is an Apple native, and it's pretty stable and reliable. I'm really happy with it. It comes with heaps of really good stock plugins. And probably the main plugins I use that aren't native to Logic, Native Instruments. So I'm just sort of learning Massive and a few other plugins through that. I've probably used like 10% of it. When
it comes to inspiration, we had Nathan on the call, Nathan Hallam from, who's Dark Mode from Frisson. He did mention you a couple of times, and one of the things he said that was interesting about your music is that you're able to really find the groove really well, but also that your sounds are very dark, almost sinister sometimes. So how do you get your inspiration? Where do you get your idea from the sounds from?
I actually came into dance music through like real cheesy commercial remixes of pop songs. So real happy, sort of like Pink and Britney and all of those sorts of artists. Then I sort of moved into more of a trance, progressive house sort of sound, and came to techno and now this. And lots of people would call it dark, and I guess it is. That's probably just because of what I listen to. If I'm going out for a club night or a festival, that's what I like to listen to. That said, over the last sort of couple of months, I have been looking at more. So I've got no musical training, I should just put up front as well. Like, I do all of my production by ear, and so I'm only just sort of starting to figure out all of the melodic sides of it, and sort of starting to incorporate more musicality into my tracks instead of just sort of straight up technical aspect of it.
So what's planned for you at the moment? What's coming up? Do you have shows? And what about your projects? What's coming up there?
So in terms of projects, since I talked to you last, I think I've released my debut EP on Shadow Wolf, which went really well. I provided them with a track for their VA too, which went well. Bunch of really top-notch artists on that one. I've provided a track to Music for Aliens that hasn't come out yet. Imanacia signed a remix from me that's just being promoted now. Alpaca have got a track of mine that they're going to release soon. What else? Frisson, they're a good one to mention. I've compiled a VA for them that's going to come out later in the month. So that's just the production for that's just wrapping up. I've got coming up, I've promised the guys at Euphoria Berserk, well, we've discussed an EP for next year. Shadow Wolf want another EP. I'll just keep providing tracks for VAs whenever labels ask for them. And of course, there's the feather in the cap, the stuff that we've been working on together. We've got probably half a dozen tracks up our sleeve that we need to tidy up and get out into the world.
Yeah, right. So pretty busy then, I'd say. That's probably the busiest person I've had to interview over the past few months.
Yeah, and it's kind of difficult because the way that obviously the labels don't talk to each other. So sometimes you have these periods of like nothing being released, and then you have a little spurt of everything coming out at once. And it can make it difficult to promote, but I'm not complaining. It's better to have stuff out there and signed and up online for people to listen to. In terms of gigs, I guess it's still a little bit hard because of COVID. Like, you can't sort of travel, but I'm just still doing the occasional local gig. And I'm playing a little festival down here called Repulse in November, which is always a sellout gig. It goes over a couple of days up in the Central Highlands of Tasmania. So I'm really looking forward to that. Shout out to the Project One crew. And if looks like the borders are sort of slowly starting to open up, so I reckon I'll start coming over to the mainland and doing the occasional gig as well. I think it's really important for people to make music, to perform their music out. I always come away from those gigs like invigorated and inspired. And it's just nice to see people having fun to your music.
So we're about to listen to your mix. Tell us a bit about what we're about to hear.
Yeah, so this is a collection of tracks that I'm into at the moment and that I think would work well together on the dance floor. Always approach my mixes as a bit of a journey, and tracks that work well together. It's got a ton of artists on it that I always tend to support, as well as a couple of new ones that are sort of up and coming. Biomass is on there. He's an absolute weapon, Australian producer. If anybody hasn't checked him out, definitely do so. He runs the Synesthesia label, very well respected lad. I'm on there with a few tracks now, which is something that I don't usually do because I normally used to hate most of the tracks I make, but I'm sort of starting to turn a corner on that now. Good mate from Germany, Mescalito's on there. Andertwin. You guys, anyone listening to this should check out Andertwin. That's Luke and Bailey Anderson from Victoria, so home turf for Kiss FM. And it finishes off with a couple of Case Cochin tunes. Thought I better represent him because I forgot to mention him last time I was on. And he, again, this guy's a top shelf producer that everyone should have a look at.
That's great. So we're going to put the track listing up on the show page as well, so you can have a listen back to that. And of course, there's also the Mixcloud link and our SoundCloud page. I'll have your mix up on there. Tomchilla, thank you very much for coming on again, and it's a pleasure as always.
Mad. Thanks so much, Michael.
Cast off the COVID blues and jump on board the Lady Cutler as the warmer months fast approach. Book now for spring and summer cruises aboard the Lady Cutler Melbourne Showboat. And if you book your Christmas party before August 31st, you'll get an early seabird discount. Perfect for weddings, parties, uni events, corporate events and disco cruises, the Lady Cutler is a unique and fun way to get together and enjoy sensational food and inspired beverages. So speak to your friends and put your crew together as the Lady Cutler is ready to board your besties right out front of Marvel Stadium Docklands. For quick quotes, visit ladycutler.com.au or call 0439 31 7070 for that personal touch. The ladycutler.com.au. She's a stunner.
Kiss FM invites you to nominate a Victorian Young Achiever up to 29 for the 7 News Young Achiever Awards. Categories include community service, group achievement, leadership, inspirational TAFE student, environmental sustainability, career achievement, tech visionary, creating change, Indigenous achievement, safety and wellbeing in the workplace, healthy living, online achievement and small business. The 7 News Young Achiever Awards. Category winners receive $2,000 in prizes and a trophy. Check out the 7 News Young Achiever Awards Australian Facebook page or nominate online.
That's that big disco everybody's talking about.
Tune in for some funky disco tunes on the Dance Tour Show on Kiss FM Dance Music Australia.
Oh my gosh, the music just turns me on.
Turn on between 1:30 and 3 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon for some funky disco tunes on Kiss FM Dance Music Australia.
Tune in to KISS Friday the 29th of October from 5 p.m. for the second instalment of Phil K's Friday Tates as we celebrate his music 1 year on. The show will be a showcase of his music and live sets from the 90s onwards. This special celebration of Phil K's life will feature guests, interviews and reflections of all the wonderful memories. So join us live on KISS FM Friday the 29th of October from 5 to 11 p.m. Forever Peaking from Above.
This is a shout out to our current members with businesses and all of the KISS clients over the years. I mean, unless you're Jerry Harvey, you can't afford to advertise right now. We get that. Drop us a line. Maybe we could run a promotion. Maybe provide a discount or an offer that I can share with your fellow members. Wholesome marketing. Hit the contact form at kissfm.com.au. Drop us a line.
kissfm.com.au. Dance Music Australia.
Yarra Youth Services and Vinyl Vixen's DJ Skills program is back. This empowering program for girls and gender diverse young people aged 15 to 25 is held each Wednesday from 4 to 6 at Yarra Youth Services, 156 Napier Street, Fitzroy. Participants learn DJ skills on a wide range of equipment and get advice from incredible artists from the Vinyl Vixens DJ Collective. DJ Skills, Wednesday 4 to 6 during school term at Yarra Youth Services.
Hey, this is Mark Dynamics from Kiss FM's Electronic Show. You know, you can now hear Kiss FM on the iPhone and Android app. It's totally free and guarantees amazing music right in the palm of your hand. Search for it in the app and Play Store. Kiss FM.
Dance Music Australia. KissFM.com.au. Dance Music Australia.
Fuck the system.
System.
They love their kids. And if all you're doing is casting stones, that's not activism. That's not activism. casting stones. That's not activism. That's not activism.
this month. Thank you very much, Tomchilla, for his amazing set. I'll be back next month, but next week, stay tuned for Illegal DJs. And every second week of the month, we've got Mickey Space with his Frequency Show. Peace out.
Tune in to Housewives' Choice every Sunday morning from 10:30 to midday.
With your hosts, Miss Fee and Belliez, as we take you